Scene 1, take 10, marker.
And action!
The Player is a satirical film directed by Robert Altman and written by Michael Tolkien, adapted from a 1988 novel that he wrote. Tolkien had been a Hollywood screenwriter, TV writer, and director, having written for shows like the Animal House spinoff Delta House, as well as Taxi. He was incredibly disillusioned with having to go around pitching, writing screenplays, and working on giant teams of writers who were going around doctoring and rewriting screenplays. Particularly signified at a time when he saw a certain executive's eyes roll back in his head when he was pitching, and he had the thought, God, I'd be bored listening to me too. The novel The Player was inspired by James M. Cain, Patricia Highsmith, and a Late Show bit where they go around asking random people on the street in LA how things were going with their screenplays, and everyone had an answer. The original conceit for the novel was that a serial killer was going around killing writers of unfinished screenplays, but they couldn't find a pattern because everyone in LA had a screenplay. Eventually it became one murder, and an executive named Griffin Mill has his life spiral out of control after he murders a writer.
Griffin?
Yeah. I was just thinking what an interesting concept it is to eliminate the writer from the artistic process. If we can just get rid of these actors and directors, maybe we got something here.
Tolkien's publisher gave the finished novel to a friend who ran a New York business magazine, who cut out all the Larry Levy parts and turned it into a short story and published that, which got the attention first of Chevy Chase and Mark Rydell, then of Robert Altman, who finally scored the rights to turn it into a movie. Altman was at a career slump at this point. I mean, we made a lot of jokes about Popeye, but it really did kick off a decade-long slump for Robert Altman where he couldn't catch a break.
You don't like spinach?
I hate it.
Yeah. Eat this spinach.
Movies like O.C. and Stiggs, Streamers, and often considered his worst failure, Beyond Therapy. He went back to teaching, and as a professor, he used his students as a crew to make the Nixon one-man show Secret Honor, starring Philip Baker Hall as Richard Nixon.
They said they wouldn't buy a used car for me, but they gave me the biggest vote in American history. And then they flushed me down the toilet. And they wanted me to stay down.
He even co-wrote a country song, Black Sheep by John Anderson, which hit #1 on the country charts. By the end of the decade, Robert Altman was mainly back into TV, including directing the HBO miniseries mockumentary Tanner 88 with Gary Trudeau. Michael Tolkien says that he believes what attracted Robert Altman to his novel was he loved making movies about groups of people and institutions. He was really good with people who were locked into a particular hierarchy. It was also a way for him to get back at Hollywood for his bad decade in exile. Instead of taking a new track, Altman went with what he's best known for, really parodying his own work in a way. The entire movie is littered with cameo appearances. Angelica Houston, Jeff Goldblum, Bruce Willis, John Cusack, Julia Roberts, Burt Reynolds, Susan Sarandon, Rod Steiger, Elliot Gould, Nick Nolte, Andy McDowell, Robert Wagner, Terry Garr, Peter Falk, Malcolm McDowell, Joel Grey, Sally Kirkland, Cher, Robert Carradine. The key to it all, according to Tolkien, was getting Harry Belafonte on board to make a cameo appearance, knowing everyone else would say they wanted to work with him as he was getting older at that point. The only cameo they couldn't get was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Many of the actors involved in The Player would appear in short cuts released the following year.
Well, is political scare you?
Political doesn't scare me. Radical political scares me. Political scares
Politely, politically radical, but
Is it funny?
It's funny.
It's a funny political thing.
It's a funny, and it's a thriller too.
It's a thriller.
In The Player, Tim Robbins stars as Griffin Mill, a cynical and sleazy Hollywood executive who fears he's on the way out, as it's clear that changes are coming to the studio, especially with rumors that Larry Levy, an up-and-coming executive at Fox, is going to jump ship and come over, played by Peter Gallagher. Adding to his pressures at work is the fact that Mill begins receiving strange postcards that have vulgar threats on them. The Player stars Tim Robbins, Greta Scacchi, Fred Ward, Whoopi Goldberg, Peter Gallagher, Brian James, Cynthia Stevenson, Richard Grant, Gina Gershon, Sidney Pollack, Lyle Lovett, and Dean Stockwell, as well as Vincent D'Onofrio as David Kahane, the screenwriter that Griffin Mill murders. The film parodies the relentless cutthroat vanity, fakeness, and pushiness of Hollywood studios. Roger Ebert called The Player the movie that Bonfire of the Vanities wanted to be. The opening is self-consciously an 8-minute tracking shot around the studio and back again without a cut, which purposely outpaces the 3.5-minute one at the beginning of Orson Welles' Touch of Evil.
You gotta run this idea by Bonnie Sherrill.
Pictures they make these days are all MTV. Cut, 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 cut. The opening shot of Wells' Touch of Evil was 6.5 minutes long.
6.5 minutes, Walter?
3 or 4 anyway. He set up the whole picture with that one tracking shot.
The film is a meta-narrative about Hollywood itself and where the film industry is in the 90s, with the death of the writer referenced both literally and figuratively throughout the film. And the understanding that if the business-obsessed industry had their say, the death of the director and actor would come next, which is incredibly prescient for this moment where AI is banging at the door of the film industry. All leading you around to a final joke where Griffin Mill is being pitched the story we've just watched as head of the studio in the form of a movie within the film's meta-narrative called The Player.
Gets away with it?
Absolutely. It's a Hollywood ending, Griff. He marries the dead writer's girl, and they live happily ever after.
Can you guarantee that ending?
If the price is right, you got it.
If you can guarantee me that ending, you got a deal.
I guarantee it, Griffin.
What do you call this thing, anyway?
The Player.
Player.